stand up?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Everybody stand up. Okay.
Yes.
So
Starting
imagine all the
recording.
high schools in Minnesota are banding together for whatever reason. And Wayzata has to weigh the benefits and disadvantages of joining.
Stop. Is anyone videotaping this?
Yes.
I got you.
Before deciding to join. So think about whether you would support membership in each scenario I say. And if you would, go to this side of the room, and if you wouldn't, go to this side of the room. So would you support membership if all high schools had the same grading standards? So what was a B here? It would be the same thing as a B in Orono.
Which way do I go?
Yes,
This is
over
yes,
here.
this is no. Yes for membership, no for membership.
Okay. Would you support it if it had the same funding? So basically, Wayzata would have to give up time and some money to help out the schools who maybe weren't performing as well. Would you still support us joining in this membership union?
Nah.
Yes?
Wow. I thought you were a radical and you were always like equality.
Okay, finally, what if all the schools during our spirit weeks we had the same spirit days?
Yeah.
Yay! No one actually does that.
Okay, thank you. You guys can sit down now.
Really yesterday. We like that they went to work.
No, you support Spirit Day. I'll do that.
So that just kind of shows you how there are a lot of different benefits and disadvantages, and different people can interpret them different ways, but they both still exist. So to begin, I know we have a little bit of background knowledge on the European Union, but Jack, do you want to read the first paragraph under the intro, which kind of gives you more of a background out loud?
Horrified by the atrocities of the Second World War, the countries of Europe sought a way to ensure peace. This desire thus shaped the founding ideology of the European Union, which was to prevent frequent and bloody wars in between neighboring countries. In 1950, France, Italy, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg decided to place their steel and coal industries under a common management in the Schuman Plan to eliminate the threat of a country preparing for war. Building upon this plan's success, the 6 countries decided to spread these policies to other areas of economy by signing the Treaty of Rome in 1957. This created European Economic Committee, or the Common Market. Over time, the EEC begins to deal with political issues as well, and on February 1st, 1992, the Treaty of the European Union was signed in Maastricht. This officially gives the EU its name and set clear rules for the future single currency as well as for foreign and security policy and closer cooperation in justice and home affairs.
So that just gives you a little bit of information on the European Union. Basically, it was just created to ensure peace after the bloody world wars and also the tensions of the Cold War. So members,
So our task is basically to provide a brief description of the European Union, or the EU, which Jack just did for us, thank you, by the way, and discuss the benefits and disadvantages of EU membership for European countries.
So membership to the European Union is created to ensure peace and harmony, bestowed political security upon a country, as well as numerous economic benefits. However, at the same time, joining the European Union challenged nations economically and financially, while also imposing various political implications.
Alright. So one major advantage to joining the European Union would be political security. And not only was it established into their foundation and their guidelines for their committees, but it also helped the development and political direction of the militaries, and basically the EU was able to supervise all international situations as well. So with the committee, in Article 38 of the Treaty of the European Union, they established a committee called the Political and Security Committee, which is pretty self-explanatory. And does anyone remember where we said that was created, the treaty?
Mustard.
Yeah, I have trouble saying it too, yeah, but yeah, Maastricht. And basically what this committee does is they make sure that all countries are accommodated and involved, and especially during times of crisis, so making sure that countries cooperate with each other and are willing to cooperate with each other. So they also advise other councils and committees that the European Union has, such as the General Affairs Committee and also the Military Committee, which I'll get more into in a minute. And this committee is able to assess certain situations and their effectiveness for the countries, making sure that countries are willing to communicate with one another, which increases the likelihood of peace. And another way that they increase the likelihood of peace is by military development, because of course, military is a big part of peace. You need to make sure that people aren't misusing their militaries. So the PSC, or Political and Security Committee, sets the guidelines for the military committee. So they're making sure that military is not misused, it is used only when necessary, and they're also able to assess whether military use in a situation is effective or not to be better prepared for future situations. But thus far, the European Union has inherently provided for peace for about half a century or so, which prevents casualties and economic costs as well, because we saw how detrimental the Second World War was. So in order to be involved in such aspects, the European Union must supervise international situations. So in supervising these situations, the European Union can make sure that the recurring war cycle is prevented and kind of stops. So they're bringing nations together under certain policies and rights, specifically the non-discrimination, because you have so many different cultures and so many different communities of people all trying to unite in this union. You have to make sure that there aren't any any judgments or any sort of thing like that. So that's why you have to make sure that the countries aren't discriminating against one another. And so under these rights, it helps them communicate, and they also have a no-tolerance policy, meaning that if you violate the European Union's guidelines or the beliefs and principles, then you're out. You get the boot. So, so this allows for better communication, not only with the countries as a unit, but also for better treatment and better communication with the citizens within the nations as well, which is really important. So in a way, the European Union is like the babysitter of these countries, supervising them, making sure that they behave, and making sure that they communicate and work well together. So political security is one major benefit to joining the European Union, but there's also many economic benefits.
Okay, so first you have the economic benefits. So the three that stood out for me was the Euro, the Cohesion Fund, and economic management. So first the Euro. I actually have one for you guys to look at, so you guys can look at this one and then pass it to
Thanks for the
us.
tip.
And then, so that's close to, the exchange rate right now for the euro to the dollar is almost an actual dollar. So that's close to $5, and that's probably, I would assume that means actually $1. Yeah. This is a single currency, or you could say kind of like universally mandatory in these countries. Not technically universal, but everyone has to use this currency who's in the EU. And it also helps with their single market system. And it's really cost effective because exchange rates can make things really expensive, because some places maybe the dollar to the euro is super duper low, and so then people in the US are gonna have to pay a lot more money to get it up to the same standard as the euro for everything. And there's also easier competition, so it lets people find the cheapest product in the entire area, because they all have the same, there's no exchange rate, so you don't have to do math to try to figure out, and it's just easier to figure that out. And also, they can use cross-border trade more. Businesses can look where they can sell their product as high as they want to. So the euro is a big economic benefit because it makes it universal, or it just is easier to do exchange rates and trading and all sorts of things. So next is the Cohesion Fund. So the Cohesion Fund was made to smooth out the differences in between all of the European Union countries. So if one is really does not have, their economy is doing terrible, this fund is to help them bring their economy back up so they can all be close to the same level. So Ireland joined the EU in 1973, and it was given funds from the Cohesion Fund, and it was used to improve their transport infrastructure, which increased their growth in export and business, and also their standard of living. So a lot of the things in the Cohesion Fund was used for transport infrastructure, to rebuild, to build more train tracks, to build more airports nowadays, and things like that.